Alright, quick review here, and I will try to make this as spoiler free as possible. How about this? I'll let you know if I'm about to drop a spoiler, but I did see Doctor Strange 2 in the past 24 hours, and I didn't love the film, but it was a fun ride. Yeah, I enjoyed the ride, but I didn't love the film. It's kind of like, Spider-Man No Way Home, where it was a film that pretty much felt more like a Spider-Man film than an MCU film, which isn't completely bad considering that, if you're a fan of the Raimi movies or the Andrew Garfield movies, it felt like a great way to kind of wrap up some of the character arcs in those movies, along with finally making Tom Holland's Spider-Man truly feel worthy of being called, one of the Peter Parkers. But you know me, when people ask me, like, what kind of, content do you watch outside of Tyler Perry stuff? More often than not, I'm watching internet TV, aka like YouTubers and whatnot, as opposed to just normal TV. And of course, most of my time, like when I'm editing and whatnot, I'm watching other YouTubers like Screen Rant, Heavy Spoilers, New Rock Stars, Comics Explained and whatnot, pretty much break down and give theories about, different MCU stuff. And it's easy to go into films like this with a lot of expectations. And I'll say this much. There weren't as many cameos as I thought there would be, but I'm not fully disappointed by that. There are maybe one or two that I wish were actually in the film but didn't make the cut. But also, I feel like this movie kind of had an identity crisis of what it wanted to be, like who was the main focus, because if you watch the trailers, Scarlet Witch is in it. You got like how many, 2 or 3 different variations of Doctor Strange. That's not really a spoiler because again, it was in the trailers, and then of course all the official toy lines that came out pretty much kind of revealed a lot more than you'd think they would. America Chavez, the teenager who can open star-shaped portals by like punching, she felt like an afterthought in the movie, to be completely honest. She was there in the beginning. She was along for the journey for most of it, and then at the end she kind of did something that I'm not going to say what it is to kind of save the day. But to me, she was like the equivalent of that Pokemon you would have on your team, like an HM slave is the gamer term. Essentially the Pokemon that will help you fly or teleport from point A to point B. They really aren't there to kind of like battle. They're just there for the sake of helping you, get through certain tasks. That was pretty much, she was Doctor Strange's Uber driver. That's essentially the best way to put it, to help him get from one place to another as they're running away from the villain of the film, who, again, if you watch the trailers, I think you already know who the villain is. It kind of undid the development or storyline of WandaVision, where on the one hand, you kind of need to watch WandaVision to understand this movie, especially Wanda's arc. But what they do with her character, it's almost like they undo her lesson at the end of the movie. But then again, the end credit stinger of WandaVision kind of lets you know, hey, Wanda might not be all, goody good, so what happens in the movie shouldn't be a surprise. Not to mention, Elizabeth Olsen signed a contract with Marvel a couple months ago, and I think there are even talks of a solo movie deal. So what happens towards the end of the film, you should know that it's probably not the end of her character. The Illuminati, this movie, and I'm not trying to rag on the MCU because I watch all the shows. Well, no, I haven't watched an episode of Moon Knight yet. Essentially, the MCU is at a crossing point, especially since Disney acquired, Fox, and they have kind of like a partnership with Sony, so to speak. So they have all these properties and all these characters. I hate to say it, but in a lot of ways, most of the MCU projects coming up, they feel like they rely on the power of cameos above anything else. Because like in the theater, the only times the audience really reacted were maybe 1 or 2 moments during the Illuminati scene where you see who's in the Illuminati, and that was it. Like there were some other epic moments in the film, but for the most part, those moments were really the, oh my god, it's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man who came out the portal. Oh my god, it's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Oh, all 3 Spider-Man are, landing together to fight the villains, that kind of thing. So if you go back to like Endgame or Infinity War, there were so many moments where people were like, ah, oh my god, it only happened during the cameos. So I feel like Doctor Strange 2 better than the first one. I didn't really appreciate the first one when it came out, just because it kind of feel like I don't, drink or do drugs, but I believe the term is an acid trip where you're watching it. The visuals were amazing, but for the most part, it kind of felt meh. But then again, when I watch this film, it's kind of like Doctor Strange kind of felt like second fiddle. He played second fiddle in his own film. This was definitely WandaVision season 1.5. Still don't know why Strange isn't Sorcerer Supreme, because in Spider-Man, it's like, oh, he blipped away for 5 years, so Wong became Sorcerer Supreme by default, even though it's like, can't he just get the title back? There were some great visual moments in this movie, especially when you have the Sinister Strange versus Strange fight. I think that fight was very creative. Shit got dark. This was definitely a Sam Raimi film. You know me, I don't like horror movies. There were a good amount of like jump scare moments. I'm like, oh damn, definitely a brutal film, especially during a certain part where a bunch of characters die. And I'm just sitting here like, Kevin Feige probably gave a glare to Sam Raimi every 3 seconds. He's like, okay, Sam, I know horror is your genre, but this is a PG-13 film. This is Disney, okay? So there's a line between PG-13 and R. You can go up to like here, but don't cross that line. I feel like Sam purposefully tap dance on that line because there are so many moments like, how the hell is this PG-13? I'm like, this shit is dark. But I had a good time watching. I definitely can't wait for like the home release, because given that it's I believe a little less than 2 hours, it has a good amount of rewatchability. It reminded me of Infinity War in that it really like, hey, it's like the movie starts off fast. There are a couple moments where it's a bit slow, but other than that, I thought the pacing was rather well. I just felt like the movie again had an identity crisis. Like in the promo, you see them like going from one dimension to another, but you barely spend time in them. Like in the preview where you see them jumping through like 10 different dimensions. That's really it. I mean, we spend the most time, I believe, in the Illuminati universe, and Sinister Strange only for a few. He barely plays a role in the movie too, Sinister Strange. There is a mid-credit scene and a end-credit scene. End-credit scene I didn't really care for too much. It's kind of a nod to another Sam Raimi film, and it's played for laughs. Also, the mid-credit scene, while good in terms of establishing the next Doctor Strange adventure, there's a moment during the scene that undercuts the tail end of the movie before the credits even start, because something happens to Strange that has you going, oh damn. But then when you get to the mid-credit scene, it's kind of like that thing that happened to him at the end that seemed like a horror movie moment actually seemed to not be as bad, because if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Also, a new character pops up during that mid-credit scene that has people going, all snap, if you know who this person is, a big person in Doctor Strange's life in the comic books. But again, I don't want to spoil it. Spider-Man gets name dropped once or twice. I don't even think that the reason for like the multiverse problems had too much to do with the spell going awry in that movie. So this had to do more with the Darkhold and everything. So there's that. Yeah, I had some good laughs in it, but it was okay. It wasn't a terrible movie, but due to all the reshoots and whatnot, and hell, this movie was originally supposed to come out prior to the Spider-Man film. The pandemic caused this, and I guess because of the success of Spider-Man, a lot of these movies did reshoots and whatnot about connectivity and trying to make things on a grander scale. This movie was kind of like Loki, which introduced multiple timelines and whatnot. This was definitely opening the door to the multiverse even more. And yeah, so like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. I thought it was pretty good. Would it crack my top 5? Nah. I don't even know if it would make my top 10, but this was definitely on the higher tier. I wouldn't say it was middle of the road or low tier, but I didn't love it. I enjoyed it. So once I get it on home release, I'll definitely watch it again and go from there. So sorry if this really wasn't too in-depth, but like I said, I want to avoid spoilers. The movie literally just came out, so and also, yeah, I think Kevin Feige came forward and said he didn't like that the trailers showed as much as it did. While there are a lot of things that weren't shown in the trailers, they did show a bit too much, where it's like you kind of get the flow of the movie if you watch the trailers, and that's pretty much it. So let me know your thoughts if you saw Doctor Strange 2. Would you like me to do more videos like this on future MCU films? Pretty much the stuff that I watch outside of Tyler Perry content. As always, hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe. Hit the super thanks button. It's like, you know, if you want to leave a tip here on the channel. And I will catch you all in the next one.